So it's a gorgeous day today. I spent yesterday actually tidying up the plot, so it's a perfect day today to get in a quick tour. And I've got to say, I'm pretty pleased with the way things are going. We've had a bit of a issue with the big freeze, which really knocked growth back. And I would say we are probably 2 weeks behind where we were last year. Probably about the same as where we were the year before. So it's no big deal. And you know, we're just having some really lovely weather over the next 10 days or so, so I'm not really concerned. I think all the growth's going to pick up really nicely. We've got no food shortages now. We're just kind of moving into abundance, and that's a really nice place to be after kind of, well, I wouldn't say it was a tricky winter, but it wasn't the easiest of winters this year. So let's take a look round. So let's start off looking at the Polytunnel. I'll just skim down these benches. So these are basically leeks, shallots, spring onions, salad onions, pickling onions, main crop storage onions, carrots, more carrots up there, just a few seedlings waiting to go out. Those are moist 2 peas, I think. Early kales waiting to go out on Monday. Lettuces on Monday. Radishes on Monday. Then early onions, perennial kale cuttings. And these are spring onions with interplanted lettuces and interplanted cauliflowers. These are the cauliflowers. Going on okay. And parsley, more lettuces, more cauliflowers, and early garlic. And then down here we've got perennial kale cuttings waiting to go out. More calabrese. And then this is the calabrese bed now, with interplanted spring onions and lettuces. It was a lettuce bed, but the kind of focus has turned now. And then down here we've got baby Brussels sprout plants, which will be harvested for the leaves. And this is a spinach bed with interplanted radishes. And at this end, interplanted beetroot. This is our last carrots. So these are the ones we're going to be harvesting in early April, just before these in the containers come ready. And then up here we've got the early strawberries, doing quite nicely now. Put these in a few weeks ago, just before the big freeze, which was a very good move. And then outside, most of the plot is undercover, so let's take a walk around. Compost bins are well stocked, so I think I've got 3 cubic meters there, and I've got some pallets to go on top of my IBC tanks. So obviously these are full of water, and these pallets are going to have containers on top of them with carrots in them, well out of the way of the carrot fly, hopefully. That's where I store all of my cold frame lids, down there. And then this is going to be the squash bed, and it's currently early onion bed, green garlic bed, onion bed, onion bed. And all of these did have field beans in them, and they really suffered in the big freeze. Now actually most of them are starting to grow back from the roots, but it's a very slow process right now. But I'm thinking actually we'll have probably quite a nice harvest off these, but it won't be for about a month now perhaps. But actually that's not so bad when you see how much spinach we've got. So actually that will probably help us ease the transition to the next succession of spinach. Gooseberries just starting to come into leaf. And these are the purple sprouting broccoli. Now we did have some cauliflowers, we lost all those in the big freeze, but we've still got all of the purple sprouting broccoli, and I'm going to underplant this with the next succession of spinach, and then when that spinach finishes in early summer, I'm going to replant this whole bed to beetroot for storage. And then this bed is basically spinach and field beans. I'm going to pop some spring onions in here and maybe a bit more spinach at the other end there. And then this bed will be replanted to, let me get this right, yeah, to the winter brassicas, so colettes and sprouts, Brussels sprouts and red cabbages, and that will all get replanted in May. So this is currently again a field bean bed. It does have spinach in it at that end there, but again a lot of it was damaged in the big freeze, but it's all starting to grow back. Just looks a bit rough at the moment. This bed will be replanted though in April, and this is going to be main crop onions, storage onions. And then this bed is elephant garlic. That's all the bright green stuff you can see down the centre, and ever-bearing strawberries down the edge, and obviously trees, I think cherry tree, apple trees down the centre. And then here we've got spinach and stock plant for perennial kale cuttings. And then these, one of these is going to be New Zealand spinach, and the other one is going to be courgette. And then in here we've got overwintered onions to be harvested May, June. And then down there our next succession of spinach. So now we've got all the cold frames. So that one's just been cleared, and in there are going to go onions, main crop onions. And then down there, this is our March carrot bed. So this is the one we start picking from on Sunday, and we've basically got one row a week to go out there, which actually is pretty good because they're reasonably densely planted, so I think it'd be quite a nice harvest out of here. And it's interesting, I think, the way that I planted this one. So rather than do it in a furrow, I actually did it in a kind of 6-inch wide big furrow and just sort of scattered the seeds in there. And so you can see that they're not in a line, they're all kind of scattered around. And the harvest from doing it that way has been really great. I've just done some test picks of some of the carrots. I'll do one here just to show you. So obviously getting a bit hairy at this time of year, but really quite nice. Quite pleased with these. Just put that back, pick that later. So then we've got another spinach bed. Can't remember what the varieties are. I think this one is Medania. This one is Red Kitten. It's early in the morning, so the sun's not quite getting to everything, but I'll soon be enjoying full sun because it's a pretty glorious day today. And then this cold frame are baby Brussels sprouts, sown, obviously planted really high density for a leaf harvest. And the reason that Brussels sprouts are ideal for this is that based on past experience at least, and things always change in gardening, they don't go to seed, so they're a kind of wonderful crop for the hungry gap when almost all the other brassicas are running to seed. Anyway, there we've got some cauliflowers snowball, looking very nice. And then another bed here of really lovely new season lettuce. So these were planted out in December and they're almost ready for harvest. They'll be harvested, cut and come again, individual leaves early in the year, and then later on in the year we'll just start harvesting the heads. And then down there we've got pak choy, tatsoi and salad rocket, and that is all starting to go to seed now. So I'm harvesting that on Sunday and then replanting that with a maize lettuce, which is a lovely little hearting lettuce. And then in this little low tunnel I've got Cabbages marathon, obviously interplanted with spring onions, but those spring onions will be out soon. This used to be a winter lettuce bed. We've cleared that now, and obviously we've got little beetroots down there. There's a lot of space in this bed, so I'll be interplanting something into the gaps, probably radish. And then this is one of my favourite beds. I only planted this last week. So this is lettuce interplanted with turnips, and then at the back there we've got mange 2 peas, and then we've got the asparagus, no signs of life there. And then we've got another spinach bed, that one's interplanted with radish, and then a bit further on another spinach bed interplanted with turnips. So you can see we've got quite a lot of spinach at the moment, so the fact that the field beans have taken a bit of a knock is not really an issue, because we use the field beans as a spinach alternative, and so we've got plenty of spinach right now. Obviously some of the spinach will start to run to seed quite soon, and that'll be when the field beans will just help us with the transition as we move to the next succession of spinach, so that will work out quite nicely. And then in this one we've got baby Kales. Now these have been overwintered, but we didn't plant them until maybe even late October, I can't exactly remember now. The hope is that these will run to seed just slightly slower than the summer planted kales, and that actually looks to be the case, because all of my summer kales right now are running to seed, which is no issue. I mean, we eat all the seed heads from them and everything, but these aren't yet because they're just that little bit less mature. I'm hoping the growth picks up a little bit, because although I am taking quite a nice harvest off this each week, yeah, in this nice spring weather I'm hoping we get a reasonable leaf harvest, and I'm hoping that these keep going until late April probably, by which time we'll have our new crop. So I've just cleared this bed, and in a week and a bit's time this is going to be planted with peas for shoots. I'm using Oregon Sugar Pod mange 2 peas for those shoots because they're just super sweet. And I'm just in the process of clearing this bed and taking the very last harvest of these colettes, and they're just so gorgeous. They've been so great. We've got loads more colettes at home in the kitchen garden, but this bed is soon going to be replanted. It's going to be planted with these baby kales, all sorts of different varieties there, but they're all kind of in the Tuscan kale family, or there's some crosses here. So there's some cabbage kale crosses. Which are these ones here? Dazzling blue, all beautiful. I much prefer the Tuscan kales this early in the year. Green curly kale doesn't do as well planted this early. And then we've got the radishes, and those will be interplanted into this bed alongside these. Can't wait. And then that little low tunnel there is going on top, because they'll definitely need protection this early. I've got another spring onion bed, and this one is interplanted with lettuces, and these are kind of the dregs of the lettuces. So these are what's left of our overwintered ones, and they'll actually pick up quite nicely over through March, but primarily this is all about the spring onions in this one, and then this bed and all the other low tunnels will be replanted with peppers. And so this is the last of the winter kales that I've got, the summer planted kales that I've got on my plot. We've got quite a lot back home in the kitchen garden. As you can see, all of this is going to seed, and we eat all of these seed heads. They're gorgeous, they're really lovely, and obviously there's thousands of them coming on these side shoots as well. But once they start putting all their effort into these, the leaf growth stops really. So that's why we want plenty of new kales to replace or supplement these. And the green curly kales, you can see as well, they're just starting to rise to seed as well. Looking quite nice there at the moment. And then these are my second early strawberries. And they took a bit of a battering in the big freeze, but they've got a cold frame top on them now, and they're interplanted with garlic, and almost every station came up, and I've got a few spare garlic cloves, so I've put those in where we've not had germination, but they're going to look pretty lovely pretty soon. So I'm going to keep them nice and warm now, get the growth going. And then in here, let's take this off. We've got the spring cabbages. Now all of these will be harvested loose leaf. The ones for hearting are back home in the kitchen garden, because this is going to be my what's it called? Parsnip bed. And so obviously these won't have time to heart up before I need to plant the parsnips kind of late April, early May time. And so we're almost done. We'll just take a quick look in the little greenhouse. I just started getting the floor all cleared out in here and testing my little heater, because that is where my first 4 containers of early potatoes are going. Now I've got a lot of super early potatoes in the conservatory at home, but the ones that we'll be harvesting in May are going in here, and also in May on all these shelves. This is where all the chili peppers are going. Right now in all these tubs, these are our new potatoes, which we're just storing in here, and these are gorgeous, and these will last us until probably the beginning of April. That's when they really start to sprout, and obviously that's when we'll have our super early potatoes from the conservatory all ready to go. So this is another overwintered lettuce bed, and these were planted very late, so I think they were sown 10th of October, so they were probably planted out sometime in November, and they're just starting to pick up growth. But they'll be replaced fairly soon with early baking potatoes, and they're just about to be planted, well, pretty much the 1st of March, and they'll be planted in small pots and then transplanted into here in about a month's time. And same with that one, it's also ready for its early baking potatoes. I'm using Charlotte for that, and I'll have a video all about that in March, early March. So these are also new season lettuces almost. These were planted 23rd of November, so planted out sometime in December, late December, and they've grown on really nicely in here, thrown off every frost, and again these will be ready for harvest probably in about 2 weeks time, And again, these will be harvested, cut and come again. And there's some more lettuces down there. And these beds are going to be carrots. In fact, all these 4 that you've just seen, the potato ones as well. Once the potatoes are harvested in June, carrots will go in there. And the reason I'm using these beds for my winter carrots is that these are the only beds that I've got that don't have mare's tail, and mare's tail and carrots just don't mix. So yeah, winter carrots. So hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.